Welcome back again. We're continuing the Exodus, and we've reached a point that we have to kind of slow down on because it's the point called Passover. What we have accomplished so far over the weeks is to take this thing called Exodus and revise our approach to it and look at it as a movement of the energy of the mind, a consciousness, an actual Passover that you experience from the left to the right side, from that which is cosmically the winter of your soul to the summer. A change in you is a Passover. And so we realize that we're not talking about hundreds of thousands of people leaving Egypt being guided by this man, but we're talking about an allegory which is constructed in the Bible that uses names and places to describe energy activities and electrical activities inside the human brain. And probably the most important one of all is this thing called Passover. And we see it celebrated in religious places called Easter, sort of, by Christians, called Passover by the Jewish community. But basically, if you take away all the religious trappings from it and you can get beyond that, you come into a point of what it is scientifically is a movement of electrical energy in the human brain. Has nothing to do with religion, has nothing to do with Christians, has nothing to do with Jews, but has to do with what is inside of you and a change that occurs in the electric activity of the human brain that causes a difference in you as a human being, a difference in your life and an association with nature. This is the energy-controlled transference from the left side to the right side. That's what Passover is. If you look on page 56, and in the little Bibles, and you're at Exodus chapter 11 on page 56, and you get to verse 5, remember, I think we covered it last week, and it said that the firstborn in the land of Egypt shall die. And we came to the understanding that basically what that is the controlling aspect of our lower nature. The firstborn is the physical, okay? And that has to die. And we know that we're talking about separating from thought and meditation. So we actually kill the firstborn, or the physical, as we take no thought in meditation, which then frees us up from the escape from Egypt and so forth and so on, and the encounter with our own psyche. You know, these things become almost intellectual and sound very, I'm looking for a word, but you know, as if they're academic and so forth. But basically, all it requires of you is a brief understanding so that you can take yourself into the point where you release your energy, and this all occurs automatically for you. It's not something you have to do. But there's a very important statement that we're going to come upon now in verse 7 of chapter 11 on the same page 56. It says, against any of the children of Israel shall not a dog move his tongue against man or beast, that you may know that the Lord does put a difference between the Egyptians and Israel. Okay? First of all, it is extremely important, if you're going to learn this, that you realize that the word Israel is an Egyptian word made up of three gods. The god or goddess Isis, which is the feminine principle of spirit, the god Ra, which is the masculine principle of mind, and the water god, which is El from the Mithra bull cult, which is the energy within. That's where you get the word angel, which is the essence within you. And you get all of the angels whose names are Michael, Uriel, Gabriel, Raphael. Their names end in El. So this Israel, the children of Israel, are the desires that come from you after you have established the spirit and the mind together, producing the energy within yourself. When you have established this, then your name is changed from whatever it may be on a carnal level to Israel. Remember, Jacob's name is changed from Jacob to Israel, which means he now has a communion or union of spirit, mind together to produce this energy within himself. So against the children of Israel, against the desires that come from this portion of your newfound consciousness, will nothing move against you. That's what's being said. Because you think of all of the things that move against you now. They can be family things, they can be money things, they can be things in your business place or whatever. That's one thing. But when you reach this point, you will then find that nothing can come against you and survive, because you're no longer who you are. You are now Israel. Israel, you are Isis, you are Ra, you are El, You are Israel, and nothing can come against that. Nothing can overcome that. Nothing can overturn it. No matter how people may scare you, no matter how situations may frighten you, once you have accomplished this, nothing can come against you. That's a tremendous promise, but it only works if you understand what this is. If you think Israel is a country over in the east somewhere, and that you're going to go take a tour over there and get water out of a river, and this is going to solve your problems, then you're going to find out it won't happen. You have to become Israel. You have to become Israel. And you become Israel how? The same way that Jacob did. Jacob says, I have seen God face to face. I will call the place Peniel. When you activate the pineal, when that energy rises within you and touches that part of the right hemisphere of the brain, you become Israel. See, now how do we know? We have to use, all we have is this book. I mean, I don't have any other, books or anything that I say, well, this can be documentary evidence. All I've got is this book to match it one against the other to say, how can I say that this is correct? Because we're talking about a difference between the Egyptians, okay, and Israel, or the Jews, okay. And so that it says that there is a difference between the two. Look at page 899 in the little Bible. And if you get to 899, you go to the book of Acts. And in the book of Acts, there's a statement made that, I think pretty well solidifies the position. If we're going to use this book, let's use it. It says in the book of Acts, in Acts chapter 10 and verse 34, Peter opens his mouth and says, truth I perceive, God is no respecter of persons. Okay? So then there is no difference between an Egyptian and a Jew on a physical level, and that's obvious. Because, of all the other things, God, kills this guy, Jesus, in order to forgive you with all the blood running down. He's about to unleash a nuclear holocaust called Armageddon, in which he's going to wipe out a third of the people. And then if we start this whole thing by saying his favorite people are over here, and that means you're outside. So the whole thing is, a wipeout. But we just found out now that God is no respecter of persons. So then why are the Jews the favorite? Why does he favor the Jews? Because it's allegorical. And what position or what can we find out in the Bible that would give us a reason why the Jews are favored? Go to page 115 in the Bible, and at page 115 you come to the book of Numbers, and there you're in the book of Numbers, and you're in Numbers chapter 2 and verse 3, and it tells you why the Jews are the favored of God. It's obvious. And it says, and on the east side, Numbers chapter 2 verse 3, and on the east side towards the rising of the sun shall they of the standard of the camp of Judah pitch their armies. In other words, Judah, which is Jew, shall pitch at the right side, at the east, which is always on the right side, at the point of the rising sun, which is the east of the right side. So those who camp at the right side turn out to be the chosen. And it says here that God then does very much prefer and select those who camp at the right side, as opposed to allegorically the Egyptians who camp at the left side. All right? So now you know how this works. In other words, how this works is to get into meditation, allow the electrical energy to start motivating or stimulating the right side. And when you open the right side, you become Israel. You then become God's chosen people because you are camping at the right side. Okay? So I wanted you to take it. I gave you this zodiacal clock, and if you look at the procession, there is a difference between the astrological zodiac and the biblical zodiac. In the astrological zodiac, there is a movement that starts from Aries, and then, for instance, if you find Aries, which is located at about 5 o'clock on this clock, actually, if you look at astrology in the way, the traditional concept of it, you start from there and you would go around up and then down. In other words, Aquarius would be about 11. But that's not the way it works in the precession of the equinox. The sun actually moves from a point beginning with, biblically, Virgo, and then moves to Leo, Gemini, Taurus, Mars, Neptune, and Uranus, or Leo, Cancer, Gemini, Taurus, Aries, Pisces, Aquarius. Aquarius becomes 7 o'clock on the zodiacal clock, see? But astrologically, now, and this is important because you're going to see this right now, where did the fact come from that astrologically everything starts at Aries? See, biblically it starts at Virgo. Everything in the Bible that you'll see as far as references to the zodiac starts at Virgo because it's virgin and it stands for that which is the virgin consciousness. It is the point of perfection, okay? If you look here, and if you start at Aries, and if you count around, you go to Aries, Taurus, Gemini, etc., you come all the way around to Aquarius, you wind up 12 o'clock being Pisces, which also has biblical implications because Pisces is the fish. It is the Christ. It is the Christ consciousness. It is God. It is what swallows Jonah. Jonah is swallowed by the fish. You are swallowed into the perfection of God in meditation. Okay. For the sake of what we're doing here now, let's take a look at this, and we'll see how Aries came up to be number one as far as the zodiac is concerned in the traditional sense. On page 56, if you look at Exodus chapter 12, and verse 1, the Lord spoke to Moses, saying in verse 2, "This month shall be unto you the beginning of months. It shall be the first month of the year to you." It is the month what is called Abib, A-B-I-B. It is April, and it is the sign of Aries. And so Aries becomes, in this particular allegory, number one. And the reason that Aries becomes number one, it is because it is the beginning of new life. It is the beginning of new life. It is the point where the lamb is sacrificed and all that is the cold of the winter gives way to that which is the bursting forth of the newness of spring. So it becomes number one. And that's why the lamb is sacrificed as Passover, because Aries is the lamb or the ram of God which takes away the cold of the winter. And how is the lamb sacrificed in the cosmos, the universe? The sun in the sky rises and consumes the constellation Aries. That's the burnt offering. The fire, which is the sun, rises and consumes Aries, the lamb. That's the burnt offering. The lamb, then, Aries, is then sacrificed to the sun. And when that occurs, when that sacrifice takes place, you then pass over from the winter to the spring. So that then gives you a macrocosm. Now you have to come inside of your head to get the microcosm. And the microcosm is when the fire or the sun, which is the energy of the solar plexus, which is the lower flesh, rises and consumes that which is the pineal or pineal gland of the brain. It throws open that to the right side, and the winter of your soul then gives way to the summer of your soul. And all that has been cold and dead and gray inside of you gives way to new life. That's the Passover. So the Passover is from winter to spring. The Passover is from that which is the coldness of your life to that which is the new life of the higher mind, of the higher consciousness. The Passover in cosmic terms is from that which is Pisces now to that which is Aquarius. So this is why it is so important to understand it. And that's why astrologically it becomes the first month. Because no matter what you do, no matter how much you pray, no matter how much you read, no matter what New Age gimmick you come up with, no matter what religious organization you join, nothing happens unless the sun or the energy within you consumes that which is the pineal gland. Nothing will happen in your life. You can go to church, you can practice this thing, you can practice that thing, you can get into New Age and you can have smoke and feathers and rocks, and you can go to Sidonia and run around in vortexes until down to the cows come home. But if the sun inside of you does not consume Aries, you're going to come back just as screwed up as you ever went away. It's the same way where Jesus says in the Bible, when you pray, enter the closet and close the door. What do Christians do? They make prayer closets with doors on them, and they open the door and they go in the closet. But they're taking the same crap in, and they're taking the same crap out, and they're taking the same crap in and taking the same crap out. Because they didn't understand what he meant is open the closet, enter within yourself, and slam the door on all of the old things that you were thinking about that were hurting you, and that's the way you'll be in secret and be set free. So this is extremely important. This is the beginning. This isn't the end. This isn't the middle. This is the beginning. When that fire which is within you in meditation raises itself up through the spinal column known as Kundalini, when it hits the pineal gland, then you've moved into Passover. Then you can be set free. So it has to be number 1, okay? And you can see it there. You can see that Aries, and that's where it has to be, and that's where it has to start as number 1. But remember, as I said, on the zodiacal clock, it's different. It moves not from Aries, and the biblical zodiacal clock moves from Virgo, because everything starts from virgin consciousness. You see that, Virgo? And it goes then through balancing of Libra. You then have the struggle of Scorpio. Then you get the rebirth between Sagittarius and Capricorn. You see Sagittarius and Capricorn? That's why Jesus is born in the stable, because actually the sun is reborn at that time of the year between the horse and the goat. That's why it's in the manger. Then you get into the point of Aquarius and Pisces and so forth, and on you go and raise yourself up. Yes, did you have a question?
What do the dark numbers mean, or the numbers mean?
That's the zodiacal clock. It's the time of the clock. Okay? But see, the difference is between that which is astrology and that which is biblical cosmology. Astrology starts from Aries. Biblical cosmology starts from Virgo. Let's look at Exodus chapter 12 and verse 3, where we are. Speak unto the congregation of Israel, saying, the 10th day of this month you shall take to them every man a lamb according to the house of their father. Very important. What did it just say? You take the lamb according to the house of your father, when you're talking about a house which is a zodiacal house, okay, a cosmic house. The 10th day is chosen because number 10 is completeness. There were 10 plagues. There were 10 commandments. That is completeness, okay? Now, when is it when the sun will begin its mission upward? Start at Aries and count. Aries, Taurus, Gemini, Cancer, so forth, and you're going to come around. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Capricorn, new life. December 25th, the sun is born. All right? So what I'm showing you here is not something that is based on religious philosophy. God knows I couldn't say this in any church that you know around here. They'd run me out. But what I'm talking to you about is a cosmic procession, a universal scientific fact which goes on in the universe. And as it is outside, so it is inside. And that's what happens within you. The lamb is Aries. The lamb sacrificed to the sun god so that new life can occur. So then what does Jesus become? Both the Lamb and the Sun God. Behold the Lamb of God who takes away the sins, etc. Okay? Now the Lamb is taken, according to the Bible, to the house of the Father. Okay? Aries, astrologically and cosmologically, if you are studying that type of thing, brings leadership, truth, prophetic vision into the other houses. So there you have leadership. Aries, leadership, truth, prophecy. That's what it brings into the other houses. That's what its characteristic is, okay? Houses are signs of the solar zodiac. That solar zodiac is the zodiac of the sun. Mansions are signs of the lunar zodiac. That's the zodiac of the moon. There is a difference. I am not an astrologer. I'm not really that well versed in it. I just pick up what I can as I read along. You'd have to get together with somebody that studies this stuff, and it's far too complicated for me at this stage of my life to get involved in this stuff. But it is interesting to me because when I talk about houses or mansions, the first thing that I always do is I look to see if I can find anything that would say, hey, you know, I've got reason to start studying this from a biblical standpoint, and there is something. Go to page 880 in the Bible. When you look at page 880, go to John chapter 14. And look at a statement that Jesus or Jehoshua makes, which is interesting. All right? And this is the statement that he makes. In my Father's house.
14 what?
2. In my Father's house are many
Mansions.
Interesting, isn't it? If it were not so, I would have told you so. I go to prepare a place. So there's a direct reference to the solar zodiac and the lunar zodiac by Christ. I mean, if he didn't mean that, he shouldn't have said it. If it didn't mean it, it shouldn't be in there. What's they talking about? Houses and mansions and Aquarius and all of this stuff. You're talking about the zodiac. You're talking about the cosmos. And I mean, it's so bizarre, and I can't believe how ignorant people can be that they will sit on the planet Earth spinning at 40,000 miles an hour, going through all of this stuff, which is all of these planets and cosmos, and say, oh, they have no effect. We're not allowed to think about that. How could they be so stupid as to say, oh, we're not allowed to talk about that when you live right in the middle of it? That's like saying you've got trees in your backyard. I'm not allowed to talk about the trees in my yard. They really don't exist. Oh, there's grass out there, but that doesn't really exist. We're not allowed to talk about it. Why can't you talk about your lawn? Because my church says I can't talk about my lawn. I can't talk about my bushes. I can't talk about my trees. I can't talk about it. So I ignore it. They don't really exist. Don't talk about it because I'll get in trouble. I'll go to hell if you tell me I have trees in my backyard. Don't tell me that. And that's the lunacy of this. You're on a planet. The planet's in the middle of a solar system. There are these other planets, and they're spinning around, and there's all of this stuff, and it has electromagnetic fields bombarding everything in sight, and people say, don't talk about it.
How do they account for tides?
Yes.
My daughter's interior decorator in Montana, and this little lady ran in the door and said, Priscilla, before Mercury gets into whatever, you've got to get the drapes up. And Priscilla said, does it really mean that much to you, dear? And she said, yes, it does. So Priscilla did it.
Put the drapes up, yeah. But the point being is just simply think about it. And when you start thinking about the involvement of the planet Earth in the midst of all of this stuff, then you see it in the Bible. What does this man who is referred to as the Christ say, in my Father's house are many mansions? What is he referring to? If he's not talking about the zodiac, then these words shouldn't be in there. And I'll tell you something, each of the 12 tribes of Israel camped according to the sign of their father's house. That's what it says in the Bible. So you have to understand how deeply involved Passover is in the movement of the cosmos, the universe. Okay? The lamb is taken into the house according to the house of the Father. So the Passover sacrifice goes into that particular sign. Now, if the Passover sacrifice goes into that particular sign, then we get to the point that's very, very important. Because now we're all spinning, okay? Now, I can't do that too much because I get bonkers when I do that. But we're all, I want to get you involved. This is how important this is, okay? You're experiencing right now the cosmic Passover. Now, see, you celebrate Easter, you celebrate Passover, but look, the Passover sacrifice goes into the particular sign. Knowing the Passover procedure, we see which house or sign that Jesus or Jehoshua the Christ provides to you. You say, oh, I have faith in Jesus. Do you really have faith? Oh, I believe in what he said. You really believe in what he said? Then listen to him, but begin to understand his words as a mature adult. Don't have your intellectualism checked at the door because you're religious. And basically, that's what you're required to do. I have faith. That means you check your brains at the door and then you pick them up and you go back out. You're not allowed to think. You're not allowed to consider. You're not allowed to understand. And let me show you something that if you're adult and if you're not checking your brains at the door, but if you brought them into this room with you, should be quite obvious. We've just laid the groundwork. The Passover sacrifice lamb shall be taken into the house of the Father. Look here at page 859. Look at Luke chapter 22. Page 859, Luke chapter 22. And let me show you what I'm talking about. We're talking about the structure of this thing. Now, the reason that I'm setting this all up for you is because in a couple of weeks we'll go into the actual specifics of the original Passover and how its implications relate to your mind. But we have to set up these principles first, okay? Luke chapter 22. And look what it says in verse 7. Then came the day of unleavened bread when the Passover must be killed. So here we are. We're talking about the same thing. We're talking about this Passover. Remember now, it must be taken into the house of the Father. So let's see what the house of the Father is. Luke 22:8. Peter and John go, Jesus says, go and prepare the Passover. Luke 22:9. Here's the question, and this is the most important question that affects your life. This is the most important question that affects my life. This is the most important question that affects everything that lives on this planet, which is so deeply involved in these cosmic things. 22:9, and they said to Jesus, where will we prepare? Watch what his answer is. 22:10, when you enter into the city, there shall a man meet you bearing a pitcher of water. Follow him into the house. The man bearing the pitcher of water is the water bearer of the house of Aquarius. That's the house that you are in now. This is the universal cosmic Passover as instructed by Jehoshua the Christ. And he says he will lead you to a large upper room furnished. You don't have to bring anything. You don't have to bring the Celestine prophecy with you. You don't have to bring the Bible with you. You don't have to bring any rocks or feathers or smoke with you. You don't even have to bring Kitaro with you. You go all by yourself. Everything is in the upper room prepared in the house of Aquarius. When you see that water bearer, and now is the time of the man with the pitcher of water. You can see him on the chart on the wall. You can see him here. Now is the time of the man with the pitcher of water. Follow him into the house, and he'll show you the upper room, which is your higher mind, and everything is there prepared for you. Just bring yourself, and you will experience the Passover with the Christ. Quiet. See? Why is this so quiet? Because it touched you. Because it's true. This cosmic event of the ages is here. And you can actually follow what Jehoshua said. You can enter into the house and follow the man with the pitcher of water to the upper room. See? So you take Aries, which is leadership, truth, and prophecy, and then you take it into Aquarius, which is consciousness, expression, awareness, and enlightenment. And you have leadership, truth, and prophecy based on awareness and enlightenment and consciousness. Aries taking you into Aquarius. And the reason that you're sitting here is because you have tasted. Watch, go to page 56 real quick. Exodus chapter 12. Albert, this is good stuff. You know what I'm saying to you, Albert? You get to the point where it's provable. Right. And you're a scientist, Albert, and it's scientifically provable, cosmically, universally provable. And you've even got a tear, which means it's really provable. That's great. Exodus chapter 12, verse 5. Your lamb shall be without blemish, a male of the first year. You shall take it out from the sheep or from the goats. That lamb, unblemished, means there shall be no thought. And that male, unblemished, means there shall be no thought as you take yourself into the house of Aries, which is the pineal gland of the brain. And that male means it is the mind. The mind without a thought, and the energy activating the pineal gland of the brain is the male, unblemished, okay, in the first year. Now it says, notice it's a lamb or a goat. The goat is what is from an ancient myth of the he-goat of what is called Pragapati, Pragapati, which is the symbol of the higher self. So then you see, when you see you can take it out from the goat, you see mythology creeping in to this story as well as, you know, the story of biblical precepts. Now, look at Exodus 12:6, okay? Exodus 12:6 says, you shall keep this land until the 14th day of the month, and the whole assembly of the congregation of Israel shall kill it in the evening. Oh, that's awful. Imagine you take a little lamb into your house with the kids, and the lamb's following everybody around, and the kids love it, and you cuddle it, and you sleep with it, and then on the 14th day, that's where me and God would separate. I would say, if this is your way, you do your thing, I'll do mine. This thing is part of the family, and we'll make a ramp for it and everything else. Don't worry. The beautiful part is it's all symbols. You see, lady said to me last night, well, I don't know what you're talking about. What do you mean? I says, what is that? Well, she said, it's a big animal, and it's got horns, and it's black. I says, what else is it? Nothing. I says, it's speech. Did anybody ever tell you you're full of bull? Did you ever shoot the bull? Oh, that was the psychologist. She's a lady, a very nice lady. She's teaching psychology in the university or whatever, but
God, the kids.
no, she did fine. She just didn't put together what I was driving at, But once she heard it, then she understood. So you keep the lamb until the 14th day. Then it shall be killed in the evening. The number 14 is very interesting and very important, because what it is moving down from the 7, moving down from that which is the heavenly or the divine consciousness down the 7 chakras, and then returning back up to the pineal gland. It is Jesus. It's coming down from heaven, being crucified, and coming back up. It is that which is the colostrum in your body. It is the oil that flows down through the spinal canal, down and then works its way back up. It is the involution. It is the evolution. It is the wave crashing down and the wave coming up. It is the sun going down and the sun going up. It is the movement in this constant circle of life. And so the 14 says the energy goes down, and then it is crucified, and then it returns. In other words, it comes from the crown chakra of birth down to the sensual aspect of the lowest chakra, and then, because of this meditation in Passover, it returns back up to the pineal or to Aries and explodes in new life. That's the whole business of Passover. The whole business of life is that the energy will come down from heaven and explore itself through that which is the sensual aspects of the physical, and when you are ready and prepared, you will drive it back up by the energy of this Kundalini, and it will impact back at the Father's house. Okay? 14. Killing the lamb in the evening is the meditational act of entering the inner darkness of meditation and the pineal activities. That's why it has to be killed in the evening, because it's when it's dark. And remember, only when it's dark does the pineal gland activate. You have to wait till the evening to kill the lamb. And it says in Exodus 12:7, take the blood and place it on the 2 side posts of the door and the upper post. Okay? I'm going to show you one thing, and then we'll pick this up next week, because we have to spend time here, because this is really occult stuff, and it's really good. But I'll tell you one thing that you might want to see what this is. Take the blood, place it on the 2 side posts of the door and the upper door post. Go to page 296. Look at 1 Kings, page 296. Look at 1 Kings chapter 6, and we're talking about the construction of the temple, which was within you. Now, what did it just say in Exodus 12:7? Take the blood and place it on the 2 side posts of the door and the upper door post. Okay? The middle chamber is the Holy of Holies in the temple. Look at 1 Kings chapter 6, verse 8. The door for the middle chamber was in the right side of the house, and went up with winding stairs, which is the essence of the circular movement of DNA and Kundalini, into the middle chamber of the right side, and then out of the middle chamber into the third, which is the third heaven of where Paul was translated in the Bible. Take the blood, it says, and strike it on the doorpost. We have to spend time with this because it is extremely meaningful to you, and we will do that next week, okay? So, Passover and all of the solar implications. Yes, did you want to say something? You have to.
No, I can't.
Well, you could. All right.
Okay, Aries is leadership, truth, and prophecy. Aquarius is awareness, and what are the other two things?
Consciousness, enlightenment. Okay. All right. Thank you very much for spending this time with us. We're into heavy adult stuff, and but it's very important. See, we check our religion now at the door, and we keep our brains with us, and we look at these things, and we say, "Wow, I am living in a living, universal, scientific, electrical, cosmic Passover." Now I begin to understand. And as much as the cosmic Passover will bring the winter to the spring and Pisces to Aquarius, the universal cosmic essence of Passover will take you from the winter and the cold, dead things of the soul into that which is the blossoming light and color of the spring of your life and the spring of your existence. It's good stuff, so we'll see you next time. Bye.